Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Konrad Gorlinski. There's an urgent briefing at the National Security Bureau on the ongoing evacuations from Afghanistan and the situation on the country's eastern border. President Andrzej Duda, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, and the Ministers of Defense, Foreign Affairs, and commanders of the Army and Special Forces met on Sunday. Lukashenko's regime is importing Middle Easterners and sending them to cross the border into Poland to claim asylum and refugee status. Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia agreed not to open the new immigration route. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki stressed the duty to protect the external borders of the European Union and the community's citizens. Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia will strongly defend our borders. We regret the current actions of the Lukashenko regime as an element of hybrid warfare and an attempt to destabilize the situation in the region. These actions are directed against the European Union as revenge for the sanctions imposed on Lukashenko. The migrants found on the Belarusian side, most of them coming from Iraq or Syria, have entered the territory of Belarus legally. Therefore, according to international law, Belarus is responsible for them and should ensure their protection. The Minister of Defense also referred to cases of destruction of the fence recently erected on the border with Belarus. The problem on the Polish-Belarusian border is a dirty game of Lukashenko and the Kremlin. The damage to the fence is also the result of the activities of the Belarusian service, as can be seen in the photographs. Opposition MPs and their happenings on the border are part of Lukashenko's scenario. Don't be useful idiots. Come to your senses. A group of foreigners brought by Lukashenko's regime has been camping for 13 days near the border with Poland, near the village of Usnaż Górny. In the group of 32 people, there are only 4 women and a 15-year-old girl. The rest are adult men who claim to be from Afghanistan. From the Polish side, the border is secured by the Polish army. From the Belarusian side, the road out of the border is closed by special forces. Polish opposition parliamentarians are demanding that these people be allowed in, and several MPs have tried to cross the Belarusian border to help the immigrants, as they themselves claim. MEP Klaudia Jachira tried to break through the cordon of the Polish army, claiming her immunity. You told me that I am trespassing. I am ready to commit this crime. Can I go over to the other side? I want to trespass. The left believes that there is a humanitarian crisis and the refugees should be helped. It criticizes Poland's lack of help in providing basic provisions, despite the fact that these people are formally on the Belarusian side. We are signatories to the European Convention on Human Rights. We violate this convention just like many others, and here the fault lies absolutely with the Polish government. A Confederation MP points out the interpretation of part of the opposition on the issues of migration policy and border defense. If we are just to let people in who walk across the border and expect to cross without any documents, then why do we need a border at all? 2 issues must be taken into account: a genuine human need, the need to show compassion, the need to help, and on the other hand, the need for security. Many of these members of parliament, such as Mr. Joński and Mr. Szczerba, have presented themselves as defenders of the Belarusian opposition. Now, they also fail to see that Lukashenko wants to take revenge on Poland and Lithuania for giving aid to this opposition. According to Deputy Foreign Minister Marcin Przydacz, over 350 people have now landed in Poland so far as part of the evacuation process from Afghanistan. The operation, conducted by the Polish Air Force, is being carried out by military aircraft from Kabul to Uzbekistan. From there, the evacuees are then transported to Poland by civilian PLL-LOT planes. Meanwhile, in Kabul, 7 civilians have been killed while trying to get into the airport. These people took flights from Iraq to Minsk, and Belarusian services directed them towards the border with Poland. Polish troops denied them access, but Belarusian propaganda claims that it was Polish police who brought them to the border. Several Polish military trucks brought those people here and commanded them to go to Belarus. Most of them are refugees from Afghanistan, and they want to claim their status in Poland. Later, they want to go to Germany or other EU states. Initially, there were about 50 prospective immigrants, but the number was reduced to 20 plus. Belarusian border guards bring them food and cigarettes. Those who have had enough can go under a roof, but in return, Belarusians bring more people willing to seek asylum in the European Union. According to our information, these people are legal on the Belarusian side. Only in the last 24 hours, we've had almost 200 attempts to illegally cross the border. We continue to apprehend foreigners who have crossed the border. In recent days, these are citizens of Iraq. Opposition leader and former head of the European Council, Donald Tusk, demands the protection of Polish borders despite the fact that his party colleagues want quite the opposite. Polish borders must be tight and well protected. Anyone who questions this does not understand what a state is. Protection is not about anti-humanitarian propaganda, but about efficient action. A record number of illegal migrants has crossed the Polish border under law and justice. Tusk's statement will probably make the PO take a few steps back, and this narrative will definitely be closer to what the government is doing and saying. The editor-in-chief of Gazeta Polska insists that the whole situation is a hybrid war waged by the Belarusian regime. The attack on Poland, on Lithuania, on Western Europe, and Europe is praying for Poland to stop this wave of refugees. This has already changed. The EU does not want a migration policy like it had introduced in 2015 and hopes that Poland will stop this wave of refugees. Polish President Andrzej Duda starts his 3-day visit to Ukraine this evening. Tomorrow, he will attend the Crimean Platform meeting, and on Tuesday, he'll take part in a Ukrainian National Independence Day celebration. Ukrainian authorities are disappointed with the recent German and U.S. deal on Nord Stream 2. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who visited Kiev on Sunday, failed to reassure the country's leaders on energy security. The Nord Stream 2, a Russia-to-Germany pipeline project that will bring gas to Europe, bypassing Ukraine, is days away from completion. While Ukraine sees it as a major security threat to itself and Europe, Germany advocated for it. In Kiev, Merkel met with President Volodymyr Zelensky and gave lukewarm reassurances to Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the Nord Stream 2 is nothing but a weapon. I believe that this is a weapon. I believe that not to notice that this is a dangerous weapon, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole of Europe, is wrong, Zelensky said in a joint press briefing. As for the continuation of transit through Ukraine after 2024, I think that so far these things are too general. However, on her final visit to Kiev before retiring as chancellor next month, Merkel said gas should not be used as a geopolitical weapon by Russia, and that Germany could impose new sanctions on Moscow if necessary. Germany has given financial assistance and diplomatic backing to Ukraine since Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, and the outbreak of war in the eastern Donbass region between Ukrainian troops and Russian-backed forces in the same year. Merkel's visit comes 2 days after she met President Vladimir Putin on her last official visit to Russia, where she had also pressed Putin on Ukraine's status as a transit country. Karolina Kaczorowska, widow of the last president of the Republic of Poland in exile, Ryszard Kaczorowski, has died. She was a committed Polish activist in Great Britain. She was 90 years old. Yesterday evening, Mrs. Karolina Kaczorowska, widow of the last president of the Republic of Poland in exile, Ryszard Kaczorowski, passed away in the UK. She was an extremely kind and people-friendly First Lady of Polish London. Rest in peace. Mrs. Karolina Kaczorowska, widow of Ryszard Kaczorowski, the last president of the Republic of Poland in exile, has died. Thank you for all you did for Poland and the Polish people. Karolina Kaczorowska was born in 1930 in Stanisławów in eastern Poland, now Ivano-Frankivsk in western Ukraine. When she was 10, she and her family were deported to Siberia. She left the Soviet Union in 1942 with the Anders Army. She lived in Uganda until the end of the 1940s, then moved to London, where she finished her studies and took up a job as a teacher. On the 19th of July, 1989, her husband, Ryszard Kaczorowski, was sworn in as the President of the Republic of Poland in exile, and Kaczorowska became First Lady in exile. She was the last to perform this role because in December 1990, Ryszard Kaczorowski handed over the presidential insignia to Lech Wałęsa. On the 10th of April 2010, she was supposed to take part in the celebrations of the 70th anniversary of the Katyn massacre together with her husband, but she resigned due to illness. Her husband died that day in the Smolensk crash. And the 18th edition of the Singer Warsaw Festival of Jewish Culture is in full swing. The event will last until the 29th of August and will be concluded by a concert by prominent violinist Robbie Lakatos entitled Crazy Violin. The culture of Polish Jews will be celebrated in over 150 events staged in 7 different districts of Warsaw. Despite the impediments caused by the pandemic, the organizers did their best to provide a full range of choices for the 9 days of the festival. And there is no shortage of those willing to participate because, as the organizers say, tickets have sold in thousands. We try to make this program as varied as possible, appealing to everyone. From those who want to get to know Jewish culture tangibly, for example through workshops or learning Yiddish or Hebrew, to open-air events such as this. From the early morning hours, preparations were underway in the synagogue for this evening's official concert opening this year's edition of the festival. At 7 p.m., the singer Yoni Rose will be heard on stage. The Singer Festival is called the Festival of Friends. It's really amazing what happens here. Workshops, concerts by such artists as Atanas Walkow, a review of last season's premieres including Michał Walczak's Circus Kafka, plus performances, talks, and walks. During this year's Warsaw Singer Festival, there will be something for everyone. The full program is available on the website www.festivalsingera.pl. As always, thanks for tuning in this evening. I hope you have a great week ahead.